Okay, this is going to be numbers 6 through 11 on the review for P5 to P7. So looking at number 6 here, we've got um, a trinomial. We see three terms, and basically what we have to think about is the typical factoring method for a trinomial, where we have to take the factors of the third term, um, knowing that there's a 1 out here. We're taking the factors of the third term to add or subtract to get the middle term. The only problem here is we have x cubed, and normally we would see x squared to be able to do that. So when we see the x cubed, what we want to see is that there's an x in all three of these terms. So what we're going to do is we're going to factor that out. When we factor out x from x cubed, we're going to have x squared. And then when we factor out x from 3x squared, we'll knock that down to 3x. And then with the minus 10x, the x is getting factored out to leave just the 10. Now we've got a trinomial, or a quadratic as they call them, that actually can be factored nicely. So again, since the first term, the coefficient is 1, we don't need to worry about anything from here. All we need to do is look at the negative 10. So the factors of 10 are 1 times 10 and 2 times 5. Because it's negative, we have to subtract the factors to get 3. The only way to do that is to take 5 minus 2, and that equals 3. And all we have to do now is set up our two um, sets of parentheses, bring down the x for that factor, put an x in each one before x times x to get x squared. And because this is a positive 5, we're just going to have plus 5 and a negative 2, so we're going to have minus 2. And there's the factors for number 6. Looking at number 7, this has a number in front of x squared. So the coefficient is not 1, and we have to take that 3, multiply it by the negative 10 out here, and then consider the factors of negative 30 to subtract, because it's negative, to get negative 13. So now that we know where the negative 30 came from, I'm going to take away all the markings off of there. So what are the factors of 30? 1 times 30, 2 times 15, 3 times 10, and 5 times 6. If you're not careful here, you will choose the wrong pair of factors. You have to know that because it's a negative, we are subtracting the factors to get negative 13. We're not adding. So we have to make sure that we choose 2 and negative 15 to add up, or to subtract 2 minus 15 to get the negative 13. Okay, now just like over here where we want to set up our parentheses, we're going to set these up, and with 3 as our leading coefficient, there's only two factors for 3, and that would be 1 times 3. So I'm going to have x, and I'm going to have 3x. Now looking at these terms, I'm going to figure out which one of these is going to work with the factors over here from 2 and negative 15. Well, if I look at the 3x, 3x is not going to go into 2. I can't multiply anything times 2, at least an integer. I can't multiply anything times 3 to get 2. But I can multiply 3 times negative 5 to get negative 15. And the way I have my parentheses set up here, I've got the 3x on the inside of my parentheses here, and the inner terms match up, so my negative 5 needs to go in that spot right there. The x, or the 1x, is on the outside, and I need to match up the outer terms, and to get the 2, I have 1 times 2. So my 1x is going to be multiplied by 2, so my 2 goes over here, and that's a positive 2, so that's going to be plus right there. And right there are the factors for that trinomial. When I look at number 8, this is the same type of factoring that I'm going to have when I did this x plus 5 and x minus 2. The only thing I need to realize is that this looks different because this is an a plus 1 instead of just a or x. Okay, we've got a plus 1 in both of those two terms. We have 1 squared and when 1 by with an exponent of 1. So for the meantime, I'm going to act as though this is x squared instead of a plus 1 minus 5x minus 14. Now looking at this, that makes it a lot easier to look at and understand how to factor this. So without a coefficient other than 1 out in front, I'm going to just focus on the 14 and I'm going to subtract those factors to get negative 5. Well, the factors of 14 are 1 times 14 and 2 times 7. So to get negative 5, I'm going to take 2 minus 7. And 2 minus 7 will give me my negative 5. I'm going to write that over. So 2 minus 7. Again, because I have my x squared without any coefficient other than 1, I can go x and take these factors here to fill in for plus 2 and minus 7. Now, I have to remember that I didn't start with x, I started with a plus 1. So I'm going to replace the x's with a plus 1. So I'm going to put a plus 1 there, and I'm going to put a plus 1 there, and then I'm going to simplify. So think about what I have here. I have a plus 1 plus 2, which is a plus 3, and I have a plus 1 minus 7, and 1 minus 7 is negative 6. So I get a minus 6. And those are going to be my two factors. Number 9, I have to look at this and realize I have an x cubed and I only have two terms. And there are no common factors, so I have to know the special factoring formula for x cubed minus, because I'm subtracting here, x cubed minus y cubed. And that factoring formula is x minus y times x squared plus x times the y plus the y squared. What I need to figure out is what are my x value and my y value. Well, this is just x cubed, so that works. I just take and put in x like I would from the formula. But 27, that's I got to take the cube root of that so that I know what number to work with. The cube root of 27 is 3. So 27 is 3 cubed. And so my 3 is going to go in place of all the y's from the formula. So I will have my x minus a 3, and then for x squared, I just take x squared. When I'm taking x times y, that just means I'm multiplying these two things together. And since I have a number and a variable, I'm going to put the number first, and this is plus, so 3 times x, so 3x, and then plus the y value squared. Well, 3 squared is 9, so I'm just going to put 9 over here, and those are my factors for number 9. Similarly, I'm going to work through number 10. I have an x cubed, and I only have two terms. So I have to think about, okay, this is maybe an x cubed plus y cubed type of factoring. So to confirm that, I'm going to take the cube root of 8x cubed. The cube root of 8 is 2. The cube root of x cubed is x. And then the cube root of 125 is 5. So what I really have here in this expression is a 2x that is being cubed plus a 5 that is being cubed. And the factoring for x cubed plus y cubed is x plus y times x squared minus x times y plus the y squared. And my 2x right here acts as my x value that's going into the formula, and my 5 is the y value going into the formula. So I'm just replacing all the x's and y's with x and 5. I'm sorry, 2x and 5. So I get 2x plus 5. And then for x squared, I'm taking the 2x as a whole and squaring it, which is eventually going to give me 4x squared. Then I take the two values, multiply them together. 2x times 5 is 10x, so minus 10x. And then I take the y value and square it. So 5 squared is 25, so plus 25. So I have my 2x plus 5 times 4x squared minus 10x plus 25. And that's my answer, my factors. When I look at number 11, I've got x squared minus another number. So that is probably going to be x squared minus y squared. And the factors of that are x plus y and x minus y. And so what I need to do is take and find the square root of 64x squared. The square root of 64 is 8. Square root of x squared is x. And then the square root of 49 is 7. So in all reality, I have my 8x is the value squared minus 7 squared. And 8x goes in for the x's and 7 goes in for the y's. So I get 8x plus 7 and 8x minus 7. And that's 6 through 11.